r/AskReddit. When did the I crave attention kid go too far? I knew this girl in high school who was the queen of obnoxious and attention-seeking behavior. She was constantly trying to get people's attention, from screaming loudly in the hall to crying hard over sad memes at lunch. She was so annoying, but unfortunately, many people bought and fed into her histrionics. Let's call her Cryface. I never really liked Cryface. She came off as fake and kinda rude. I tried to ignore her for the most part, but the absolute turning point for me was her over-the-top behavior at a choir concert junior year. It was 20 minutes before the concert was set to begin, and all the kids were practicing getting on the risers, about 100 people. Suddenly, Cryface's mom entered the auditorium, briskly walked to the director, and whispered something in his ear. The director nodded, and called Cryface off the riser. When Cryface got down, the mom whispered something to her. All of a sudden, Cryface let out a blood-curdling scream, and ran for the auditorium exit. She got halfway, before collapsing to the ground wailing. She kept yelling, "Oh my god, oh hi, oh my god," over and over again. The mom came up behind her, pulled her up by the elbow, and rushed out. Naturally, everyone in the choir thought something horrible had happened. Some friends had texted her, but Cryface would only respond with cryptic messages like nothing will ever be the same, and why couldn't it have been me? Rumor spread that her father and little sister had burned to death in a car wreck. With a reaction like that, what else could it be? People were talking about organizing a couple to attend the funeral, and taking friendship shifts so someone would always be available to comfort her. I even agreed to a couple shifts. Hell, the entire choir said a group prayer for her before the concert, and this was at a public school. We were also worried. Now, these thoughts would have been incredibly kind if that was what happened. But nope. Turns out Cryface's little sister was diagnosed with diabetes. The sister didn't go to the hospital. She didn't get sick and need medical attention. The family had only received a call that the scheduled medical tests came back positive for diabetes. The mom came to tell Cryface because the family had decided to skip the choir concert so they could meet with the doctor and talk about the medical diagnosis. TLDR, girl finds out her little sister has diabetes and might get more attention than her. So girl makes high school choir think her family died in a car wreck. Edit. Oh my god, oh hi, oh my god. I have a silver. Nothing will ever be the same. This definitely should have been me. Asterisk COLLAPSES to the ground WAILING asterisk. But, yeah, thanks. I had a friend growing up called Jody. She would always lie about things to get attention. As we grew up and went to different schools, we grew apart. Once I turned 17, I got into contact with her in hopes of getting to know her again. I assumed that, because she was 17, that she had grown up and stopped trying to get attention. I also had other friends that I would see, and she was definitely jealous. Then she dropped a bombshell. Her dad was dying. I was devastated for her and spent less time with my own friends as I felt that she needed me more. As soon as she would find out I was with my friends, she would cry and ask me to come over as she was depressed. She also claimed that she was pregnant with a girl and that she had lost her when she was almost 4 months pregnant. She would cry to me all the time about her baby girl and would cry as she was scared to lose her dad. Mother's Day would come and she would talk about how this should be her day and she should have had a baby girl by now. She also took a lot of time off work to be with her dad, and her work was very supportive of her. It all came crashing down when she had a phone call from her co-worker to ask how her dad was. Jody cried and said that her dad didn't have long left and that he had forgotten who she was when she saw him last. She said that she wanted to die for it to be all over. I remember crying as I was scared for her and felt helpless. I went home, and the next day, she phoned and asked me to get to her house straight away. She sat me down and told me that she had made it all up about her dad dying and that she never lost a baby. She said that she was only telling me this because her co-worker had grown worried for her and came to her house to have a word with Jody's mum so that she could have more time off work. Her mother wasn't at home, so Jody knew she couldn't keep lying anymore. I was honestly scared of her at that point, as I knew that if I had gotten mad, she probably would have made something up about me because that's how she is. I asked where her dad was, and he obviously wasn't at the hospital, but he was on a business trip. I asked her where she had gotten the scan, and she said that she had gotten it online. She also said that the reason why she lied was because she loved all the attention that she was getting from everyone, and that it started because she wanted a day off work, which turned into weeks. The scary part about her lying for attention was that it was like that she was starting to believe it all herself. I wish that I could explain it more, but this is already a lot to read. Had this girl in middle school who would purposely make up crazy lies. E.G said she was related to Nicki Minaj for the sake of impressing her classmates. The thing is, after a while, we all figured it was a load of crap, but silently agreed to just nod our heads whenever she came to share another jaw-dropping story. Well, turns out our tolerance created this illusion that her plan was working, and she must have felt as if she was getting the attention she craved, which worsened the situation. We were in 7th grade at the time. She was crushing real bad on a dude that was a year older. Instead of walking up to him and trying to befriend the kid, she makes a whole fake Instagram account which she used to DM him. Set up a different name and surname, found a hot model with a relatively small following, and used her to catfish the guy. She'd post these photos on her feed, not necessarily send it to him directly going, "Hey, this is me." They began texting, like everyday type of thing. He'd sent her good morning and good night selfies, and she took ages to reply because she was constantly searching for a fitting picture. This fake girl was supposedly from a whole other state. They kept texting for several months. Nobody knew except for me and a few other people from our class, but we weren't spreading the story. To be honest, I wasn't very interested anyway. Well, turned out the guy had booked plane tickets to go visit the non-existent hot chick he's been talking to non-stop. He flew to a completely different state hoping to meet the love of his life in person. Had relatives there, I'm pretty sure, so he stayed with them. He shared all this with the fake girl after landing. Yeah, she had to confess and tell him about everything. The girl moved schools after that, and her story spread like a wildfire. Not sure what went on with the guy. Note, they did call, Skype. He heard her real voice, but since they never shared a word in person, he didn't recognize her from anywhere. Never video chatted though. To be honest with you, I have no clue how she managed to keep up with her own lies for several months before being forced to end it. Thinking back on this is more bizarre than I originally remember it being. This is pretty recent, within the last 2 weeks, and I have screenshots of this kid. It's like 2 in the morning in a popular airsoft YouTuber's Discord server, and we were talking about medical shit because I'm training to become an EMT. I'm 16, and this 15-year-old starts talking about how he was high on shrooms and faking not being able to type and saying things like "you thought shrooms are crazy." I sent a VNT. We just kinda ignored him because we knew he was going for attention. About half an hour later he comes back, but starts spamming about it and is actively interrupting us to get attention. I was starting to get annoyed too. I just told him no one cares and to brag to his friends and not in a Discord server. He then starts to talk shit and I call him out saying he probably wasn't even taking the drugs he was saying he was. He then told us he had done over an ounce of shrooms and drank 2x 6 packs of Bud Light. Now here's the thing, if you did over an ounce of shrooms, you would most likely be in a coma or have a seizure. And mixing shrooms and alcohol is not the best idea, because when you come down from the high you will be kicked in the ass by how drunk you would be. He also tried to say his mom and dad would regularly give him a couple grams of weed a week. I immediately called him out on his bullshit and started saying he was going to get my hype and that I would die that night and all the normal 15-year-old shit talk. But he is typing normally now and not making any errors. The part that went too far is when he started to DM me my IP and my street and my name. This 15-year-old tracked me down because I called him out for trying to get attention about drugs. Nothing happened, but from what I know his Discord is banned and he was immediately banned from the server once he started threatening me. TL. Doctor, I called a kid out for drug use and he tracked me down because of it. Edit. Did not expect this to get this much attention. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not an expert on drugs considering I'm a pussy and only smoke once in a while. Also I'm just going off what I've been told from people about shrooms as I've never done them myself. Edit. Looking back at it, I most likely posted something that was related to my location or email in the past. Now I'm sad because I was that dumb. One day when I'm middle school, there is this kid. Let's call him Joey. Joey is an attention-seeking loon that can't spend a minute without opening his mouth. He would always try to talk about other people, saying that he wants to fight them, but when they actually try to fight him, he backs down. He always disrupts the class by yelling out his Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. Joey and I were in the same band class. It was one of those classes where 2 instrument groups would be paired. Yes, it was in 6th grade beginner's band. He played the clarinet and I played the trumpet. One day in band, we had to go one by one to do a full front and back page song paired with the opposing instrument. So my band director paired me up with Joey. We had to play the piece together. He played all of the wrong notes while I was doing good. When we got to the 74th measure, the director stopped us and told Joey to stop playing and told me to keep playing. As I played the other piece, Joey was red as a tomato. Then when I made it to the 60th measure, he started to make grunting sounds. The grunting turned into tapping his foot. The foot tapping turned to stomping. I noticed it, and everyone was looking at him in a WTF face. I stopped playing, and he just picked his clarinet up and started to play random notes. Then when everyone was telling him to stop, and the director took his piece away, he just turned twice as red. Then you not. He just threw his clarinet at me full throttle. It didn't hit me, but it hit a girl sitting behind me. I went to go check on her, because it hit her pretty hard. If you held a clarinet before, it's sort of heavy. My director just grabbed him and took him to the principal's office. The girl's nose was bleeding bad, and we went to get napkins. Later on that day, we heard from a friend that he was suspended for 2 weeks for that and disrupting the class many times. Today, he dropped out of high school to become a rapper. I check his SoundCloud and his YouTube, and they aren't doing so good. I hope he has a secondary job, so he won't spend his whole life on rapping. I know this was long, and I don't even know if it belongs here. Just tell me, and I'll delete it. Edit. The girl is okay, she just had a bruise on her nose. I don't know if this counts, but here goes nothing. There is this girl I've known since around 1st grade. We'll call her Karen. Ever since I can remember she's wanted to be special, and popular, and quirky. It was really fucking annoying, but I'll let it slide the first few years of our friendship. She also copied everyone left and right if she thought that what they were doing would boost her social status. It did not. The first event in which I really noticed her habit of copying others was when we had a Teach the Teacher project in 3rd grade. I was always known for my ability to draw, and so I did an art class segment where I taught the class how to draw some little markers with faces. It was fun. I was absent the next day, so I didn't get to see some of my friends' presentations. I come to school the day after, and my friends run up to me telling me that Karen did the exact same thing, only she drew something from a book. I was pissed, but got over it. The next time she copied me was when I was really getting into Harry Potter. She invited me over for a sleepover and I accepted. I suggested she take the sorting hat test, and she got Hufflepuff. She did not accept this as an answer, though. She kept on insisting she was Ravenclaw, which is my house. Another time this happened was when I started to learn about the LGBT+ community. I told her about it, and she immediately went on Tumblr and started looking up the community there. She came up with being asexual. I wouldn't have minded if I hadn't mentioned how one of my close friends thought they were ace. She kept going on and on about how similar she was to this friend of mine, blah blah blah. She now is bi and has a GF. Oh, and also is a total weeb and thinks watching anime is a personality trait. I could care less if she was bi, watched anime, or liked to draw. The thing that makes it frustrating is that it's obvious that she's just picking up these traits from her friends hoping that she'll be special. I'm no longer her friend, and neither are most of her former friends from elementary school. She has one friend though, who we'll call Deborah. Deborah completely encourages the type of crazy behavior Karen shows. Deborah is also bi, but is a nicer person, and not a total fucking copycat. TLDR, girl cop is everyone around her hoping to be quirky, loses most friends because of it. Be yourself, don't be other people. This is a long one. Be prepared. This girl constantly lied about everything to get attention. Just to get a laugh she'd often say, "Oh, I forgot, I'm allergic to," whatever she just stuck in her mouth. She brought catnip to school where stupid kids would think it was marijuana, but she'd then claim it helped with her severe depression from breaking up with her rising pop boyfriend. She'd constantly lie about the situation with her parents, saying she lived with her 17-year-old brother, who we'd never seen. So many other stories about her, but there's one that takes the cake for this. She normally got a lot of attention from other teens our age, 15 to 17. When she broke up with one of her many boyfriends, she saw this as encouragement to continue being with guys and doing stupid shit to get them to break with her, like sexting other guys, claiming to have gotten pregnant by one of his friends, and all around just being a terrible person. Eventually, word got around about how awful she treated her boyfriends and no one would even remotely consider being with her. I had friends that would go out of their way to find that random guy she was chatting to warn them about her. A couple sick fucks just used her for sexting and stuff like that. That's what she wanted, though. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. Okay, so, after a couple of months, she finally lands another clueless guy, or so we thought, and they actually were together for a while, like, almost 6 months. Take into consideration that the average length of her relationships were about 1 week. This was pretty damn long. Well, big surprise, they broke up. And it was ugly. She had screenshots of him talking to this other girl, dick pics, their plans to meet up and have sex behind her back, and she showed it to me. Crying, sobbing, she got the most attention she's ever gotten. Ever. Everyone invited her to hang out with them, just to help her get her mind off of the sick guy who cheated on her. Well, I was starting to get suspicious of this story. So many holes, never seeing him in person, only in pictures. So I did my own kinda snooping. After an hour of searching for pictures and asking her close friends about this guy, I was able to finally get my hands on a picture of this guy. He looked so familiar. I've seen this guy before. I know it. So, I kinda just looked through the pictures on my phone, text conversations with this attention seeker, and I stumble across a picture of her brother's. Her older brother. It's the guy that cheated on her brother. I needed answers. I explained everything I found to this girl, and she finally came clean. She had paid her brother to pretend to be with her for a few months, $300. And he did it, and it worked. She got all the attention she wanted. Everyone felt so bad for her. She loved it. There were a couple of things that some fake friends of mine had told this girl, and she used it against me. Blackmailed me. I didn't give a damn. I could recover from the information she had on me, but she needed help. The next day, I went into my counselor's office and explained it to her. I haven't talked to her since, but from what I've heard she had to go to therapy for a couple of months, and supposedly is a lot better now. Yeah, sure. Still doing the exact same thing as before. Don't talk to that chick anymore. My brother and I went to high school with a girl who, while we never knew of any official diagnosis, I'm positive that she had histrionic personality disorder. She, for no apparent reason, tried to get a group of my brother and his friends in trouble for supposedly bullying her. The principal calls them all together for a talk and lays down the law regarding how they were treating her. Only problem is that literally everyone in that room sat there and said WTF. No one was bullying her. No one was even sure why they were included in this list of people who supposedly were. Hell, as my brother even said that most likely, when a group of dudes are bullying someone and are approached to stop, at least you'll get a yeah, okay response out of at least some of them. There will at least be some acknowledgement. This was a situation in which literally everyone called into that meeting had no idea what the fuck was even going on. After that, she definitely made herself a target for bullying. She swallowed a watch battery. It exploded in her stomach, and the ambulance had to come get her in the middle of school, pump her stomach, etc. Of course she was talking about it the next day. It just gave her more attention. Most likely falsely accused a guy of rape. The charges never led anywhere because several witnesses at that party had said that there was no reason to believe that it wasn't consensual. Of course that's not concrete evidence that a rape hadn't occurred, but it's unlikely that one did. And given her past track record of reliability, she damaged her own credibility. There are just some of the most outstanding doozies. She was always lying, snitching, starting drama, trying to insert herself into conversations, etc. She definitely had problems and was a known compulsive liar. Trigger warning. My friend, who had been raped when she was a child, completely broke down when recounting the story to me. I knew she was an attention seeker and a liar, but I knew that was real. A couple of years later I saw exactly what her lying about being raped looked like. She pulled my then boyfriend and I aside before school started that day and told us she'd been raped over the weekend by our other friend who didn't know her. She was acting like it was a serious matter and that she was upset. But she was also being really casual and not nearly upset enough for the dramatic person she was. Especially talking about such a sensitive subject and it being so recent. Now, before anyone starts screaming at me in the comments, no, this wasn't shock or the process of grief. She was acting the same way she always did when she lied. An explanation for his innocence aside from her blatantly lying, just to cover my butt from anyone outraged that I didn't inherently believe her. Again, he didn't know her at all, and she wasn't his type. I'm though. He was one of only 2 men in our entire friend group, and I had been alone and secluded with him for extended periods of time countless times since 1st grade and we were in 11th at that point. I was a far more convenient and preferable target for him than her, yet I always felt completely safe when alone with him. She also said no when I asked if he was at all intoxicated. Jokes on her though, because he was always drinking. He brought a thermos of coffee mixed with whatever alcohol he happened to grab first that morning to school every day, a young alcoholic. Anyway, I took her lie about being raped by a friend of mine very seriously. I was very offended that she, a true rape victim, had the gall to lie to my face about such a thing. I set aside my personal bias toward the both of them and investigated the matter. I asked the guy she accused about her. He only knew that she lived somewhere in his neighborhood and had seen her walk past his house a few times. She had claimed that he raped her in her kitchen. Why and how would he be in her kitchen if he didn't know any of her family or where they lived? I decided to wait and see if she gave me any more information about it before coming to a definite conclusion myself. But she never did. She never brought it up again, hadn't had herself checked out, hadn't involved police. Nothing. I very slowly cut my ties and contact with her after that day. I was tired of the lies and stress that came with being her friend. I used to be friends with a boy crazy bitch from another school. She was a straight up creepy thought. She bragged about how she used to date multiple people online at once, and they were a lot older. I think she was in middle school at the time. She met some of my guy friends at school through Key Club and thought they were all cute. Her socially inept self kept spam texting them and bothering them to the point they just made a bunch jokes about her. Then, she pretended that she was never obsessed with them and went, yuck, all the guys at your school are so crusty, they won't stop talking about me or leave me alone. She posted super toxic things on her private Instagram account, like how much she hates her mom and wants her to die, or she talks shit on someone, etc. She went super far when she apparently fell in love with a football player at my school who met her to comfort her when she made a post about wanting to kill herself. He wasn't ready for a relationship because he was extremely busy with football, school, and physical therapy. Since he has a major injury he needs to focus on getting better. But no, she didn't respect that. She kept sending him nudes and he eventually just gave in and tried dating her. She used me as a third wheel to go on a date with him, and they were freaking weird. Anyways, after one fucking week, his schedule caught up with him and he was forced to break up with her. She was really hard to deal with. She was crying all the time and talking about suicide. I tried my hardest to comfort her and convince her not to. I was hoping she'd just get over him since it was just 1 week, but it got worse. She would randomly text me telling me she was cutting herself or tying a noose. I couldn't enjoy myself when I was out with friends because I was busy trying to help her. It was as if she wasn't even trying to get better. I had recently gotten dumped by my long-term boyfriend who I thought was my soulmate. I was miserable for about 3 days, just crying and listening to music, but I got right back up. I was frustrated at why she would do this to herself over a week-long relationship. Nothing I did helped. If me trying to be gentle and comforting didn't help, I tried being realistic. I called her an idiot for trying to kill herself over a short relationship and that she should get over him. She didn't like that and stopped coming to me. We are not friends anymore because one time we were planning a small hangout to the movies and I asked her if I could invite a guy I was seeing. She said sure, but we should sit away from her and her friend if we were going to make out and stuff because she knew I liked doing that kind of stuff with guys. I was infuriated from that. This bitch had the audacity to say that to my face. Might I add that she was trying to invite both the guy that she liked and her friend, and if that guy didn't show up, she was going to flirt with the friend? I just cancelled the hangout and went to another movie theater with my guy. I just stopped talking to her. One day, she blocked my account and posted on her private about me, shit talking me and making a shit ton of things up, making me look like a slut and a snake. My friend who followed her showed me what a toxic horny bitch. Also, on a positive note, fast forward 9 months, I'm still dating the same guy. TL, Dr. X friend, flaunted suicide over a 1-week relationship. Was a camp counselor and out on a retreat. We camped a few days in the mountains away from the camp. We were all settled down a little before pitch black nighttime rolls in. Me, the other adult counselor, and 10 kids aged 10-ish are just kicking it when one of the kid goes wide-eyed and silently points at something behind my back. A deer has wandered up to us and is just standing there 5 feet away, just looking at us. It was fucking magical. I could hear her breathing and I made eye contact with her. Time stood still and we were all entranced. This was a camp about appreciating nature, so all the kids were as impressed as if like Mickey Mouse and Batman had shown up. We all stood in perfect silence for 5 seconds appreciating the rarity of the moment. Kids standing still with the firewood bundles in their arms. One kid halfway bent to the ground to pick up a bag of marshmallows. One kid kneeling still where he had been tying his shoes. We were all receiving a kid. I hear one kid behind me sigh exasperatedly and jump to his feet and my blood begins to boil because I know who it is. Stupid shit. And I know he is going to ruin this on purpose because everyone is focused on something that isn't him. He hits the deer in the fucking head with a rock and everyone goes nuts yelling at him, which makes him happy. He is grinning ear to ear and dancing and laughing like a madman cause their attention was all he wanted. It's just a stupid deer, it's not like you've never seen a deer before. Besides, no one was going to listen to my stories with a stupid deer around. His stories include demanding complete silence while he relives entire episodes of the TV cartoon Bionicles. I looked at the other counselor and we were both thinking the exact same thing. Murder. Thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe the channel.